Hey, it's Carol, Saltbox Stitcher. I'm back for I I don't remember what video this is. Life has been very, very crazy lately. And I'll talk more about that in a little bit. But this is I guess we're supposed to say this. It's a video about cross stitching. If you're not interested in cross stitching, then you might want to move on to tractors and tools. I don't know. Anyway, it's Tuesday before Thanksgiving, and I hope y'all are going to have a good Thanksgiving and have some time off of work if you're still working, and maybe some extra stitching time. So first I'm going to show you some of the things I've stitched and what I'm stitching on now. And then if I can find my notes, I'm going to talk about my stash, some of the things I've gotten in stash. I'm going to do two things I'm all into just for Teresa, but I don't sing. And then I'll announce the winner for the quilt giveaway, which I'm almost finished with. I think I have about half a yard left to go, or 16 inches or something like that left to sew down the binding. So I'm just about finished, and I picked a name. So there's a lucky winner out there somewhere in floss tube land, I guess. So the last time I videoed, which I know was unbelievably long time ago, and for that I apologize, but I have had a good reason. So I was just about ready to leave for the Midwest cross stitch retreat, and I did. Went and visited my brother. My sister had had knee surgery, but ended up she was able to go with me, and the weather was beautiful in Amana. Excuse the lipstick. I got a mug. I should have bought two of them because my husband thinks that's just pretty cool and he'd like to drink out of it too, but it's mine. I get very selfish about things like that. I don't know why. Anyway, I'm not going to show you all of the things that I got at the Amana colonies. Suffice it to say, it was a great trip. I did have some distractions, but, and I'll again talk about that at the end. I got all the same things that I know everybody has shown on their videos. Primitive Stitcher had a very good video about Midwest. So did Kitten Stitcher. A lot of people have done Insta stories. I know Linda Jo, Pretty Southern, did an Insta story on some of the things about Amana. It's a beautiful area. It's not commercialized. There's wonderful shopping for antiques and goodies and candy. Just anything you want. But it was very fun. It was a good time to get away. The weather was beautiful, and it was truly a fall event. Already sent my check-in for next year, so continue to do that because it's going to be at Amana again next year, and Teresa is going to be the featured designer, Kitten Stitcher, aka Shakespeare's Peddler. So anyway, when I went to Amana, I was working on some fall things, and I did finish stitching a few. However, I haven't fully finished them, and since it's kind of past fall, I know this is Thanksgiving coming up, but for Thanksgiving, the turkey just it's a raw deal, literally, because a lot of people are already decorating for Christmas, and I kind of get that. I get in the spirit of it soon also. But I had talked about doing a house tour. My house is literally halfway between Christmas and Halloween. A lot of things have been put on hold, but I did get out some Christmas quilts the other day, but I haven't put away all my fall cross stitching. So I look like a holiday that's not here but yet gone. I don't know. I need to thoroughly clean my house, and anyway, that's not stitching. Who cares if I have a dirty house? But maybe maybe closer to Christmas I can do just a walkthrough. It's not really going to be a home tour. It's just going to be a walkthrough to show you more of my cross stitch. But anyway, one of the things I was working on at the retreat was Boo to You. Just think she. I guess we're assuming it's a she because she does have a skirt on. But I just think she's adorable, and unfortunately, I didn't finish her. I got to a certain point, and I just really need to, I think there's a bird over here, and then finish the vine. The girl is finished. I actually stitched this. I started stitching it. Okay, back up. It calls for Winter Brew by R&R, which is a beautiful color. It's kind of a browny gray, and 36 count. Well, I started stitching it, and I was really having trouble because a lot of it wasn't showing up. And the white for her top, part of her dress or blouse or shirt, whatever, it's kind of barely showing up here, but you know, you can see it. But I started stitching it accidentally on Beach Brew. You know, you live in Florida, so you don't think winter, you think beach. At least I did. So I got partway through, and I was like, this is not, you know, it's just not working here. And there's nothing worse than try to force yourself to finish something that you're just not into. So I started evaluating and thinking, well, why is this just a color that's not the same as most of them? And then I realized it called for Winter Brew, and I was stitching on Beach Brew. So I did find a piece of Winter Brew in my stash, and so I restarted it. I had a lot of it done, but I restarted it on the Winter Brew, and I'm much happier with it. So I just really need to finish the bird, the handle on the pumpkin, and a little bit of the vines on the her little pumpkin purse and the necklace. So I don't have a lot to finish, so I'm going to make myself finish that, even though I'm kind of into Christmas stitching now. The other thing I finished, let's see, it's here somewhere. I finished this guy. I think I had it partway finished last time. Turned out really nice. I like it. And this is upside down. This is Autumn Alphabet by the Scarlet House. And it calls for Mocha by Weeks Dye Works. And I'm not sure what I used. I think this was a Lakeside piece. It's kind of grayish brown. I'm not sure what I used. But anyway, finish that, and I need to finish it and put on the butter paddle that I got to mount that on, that's shown in the picture. And then I've done some Christmas stitching. This was a country sampler Stacy Nash pattern. I haven't done this guy yet, but I did the girl in the house. It's called Sleigh Bells Pin Keep and Ornament. And here it is. And this was a kit, and I used what came in the kit. I believe it's 32 count, which I don't stitch on 32 count very much, and she tells you to use one strand. I didn't think the coverage was great on the dress, but it's primitive and I like it. I think it's cute. So that'll be a pin keeper, whatever, for the bowl. It did, like I said, it came as a kit. It has this for the backing of the pin keep. So I'll finish that one. And then I was on a roll, so why stop? This has all been since I last videoed, which was October 10th, 12th, something like that. Anyway, I started this one, Country Sampler Silent Night, Pin Keep and Ornament. And there again, this was part of Stacy Nash Country Sampler Club. And this one, I have finished both parts. And this one is on 35 count parchment by Weeks. This is not the Zweigart base. It also came with 32 count, and after stitching the other one at 32 count, I thought, well, I think I want to switch to a little higher count. I thought it turned out cute. Then I also did the Silent Night part, so that'll make a couple of cute pin keeps for the bowl. And then I started and finished. I got this one at the attic when I went this summer for summer school. This is Elizabeth Hunter, 1853 by the Scarlet House. And I think this, other than the fall pieces, or maybe it came out at the same time, this is one of her newer releases. And I actually used a silk conversion that they did at the attic. However, the colors are really, really, really close to the overdyed cottons, which is what it calls for. It calls for the overdyed cottons. It calls for sand dune. Whoop. Helps if you hold up the right thing. And that's what I used. I used 40 count sand dune. It's not huge, but I really, really like it. I love the basket of flowers. All the motifs, the birds, trees. I think it's kind of cool because this flower down here in the middle on the bottom is like totally different color palette. I was like, And then all the alphabet. I don't mind doing alphabets. I think they go fairly fast. It's a little more tedious when you have to change colors every letter or every other letter. But I like it. Elizabeth Hunter by the Scarlet House. Sand Dune. 40 count. And then I decided I needed some cathartic solid stitching. So I started All Bundled Up by With Thy Needle and Thread. This is a series. This is the first I've done in the series. I think this is the third one. The first one was a bunny, and I don't think there was anything in the summer, but I could be wrong about all this, so just ignore me. But anyway, this is All Bundled Up. Oh, I was going to say the fall one was a Scary Cat. That's not the name of it, but that's what it was. And then, and I think it's done on like a bright green linen. But this one is the Snowman. It calls for Winter Brew by R&R. I did not have another piece of Winter Brew, and I was really anxious to start it. So I found a piece in my stash that was Mink by R&R, which is just a little bit darker. And I thought it turned out good. I really like the way the snowman shows up a little better on the Mink. So when you frame it so that there's no margin on the bottom. So it looks like he's peeking over the edge of the frame. Love the bird. I really like everything about this. I did change a few colors. I changed all of this vine right here. Was supposed to be Putty by Weeks, and I changed it to Schneckly because the putty just wasn't showing up. And then on the sticks for his arms. I changed it to Cocoa by Weeks, and it was supposed to be Dirt Road maybe, because I wanted him to be a little darker. That's all I changed, was just the 2 colors. All bundled up with my needle and thread. And then I decided I was ready to start another small sampler, but I wasn't ready to give up on Christmas yet. So I got out this book by Blackbird, The Bells on Christmas Day. There's a lot of wonderful things in this book. And every piece, I'm pretty sure, I think I've looked through the whole book, and every piece is done on Oaken by Picture This Plus. The Bells on Christmas Day by Blackbird. So I decided to start this one, which is the sampler. So I started it a couple nights ago, and I'm this far. So this is what I'm stitching now. Usually do the border first, and then I go back and start the middle. The red in this is baked apple, and I have a good dye lot of baked apple because it looks very red. Some of them are a little more pink or light red. So I think Brenda and Laura talked on the Brenda and the Serial Starter talked about if I have a Blackbird book and I think I'm going to stitch multiple pieces, I will go ahead and just put a ring on all of the colors in the book, because a lot of times they use the same colors over and over. So there's some of them on this ring are duplicates, and I will go through and take some of them off as I stitch but there's so many cute things in that book, and things that would make really nice gifts for stitchy friends, like this. Or and I actually have this box. It comes unfinished. I got it at either Joann's or Hobby Lobby. I thought that would be sweet to give as a gift. Our stitching group has a Christmas exchange. We draw names, and in the past couple of years I've given quilts because most of them aren't quilters, but the person that I drew this time, I have given her a quilt before, so she's going to get a stitch piece. And although I haven't started it, but we don't do our exchange till like toward the end of January, so I have time to finish it. But I'm thinking about maybe doing that box. So if you're watching, you don't know who you are, but you might get that, or you might not. So then I got some stash. There's one more sampler that I'm working on, but I'll talk about all that in a minute. I ordered this bundle of lusciousness. This is the kind of thing you could just set on a coffee table. You don't even need to open it and make the quilt. Just sit it on a coffee table, fluff up the ribbon, put it in a basket. The home of a stitcher, you know, quilter, whatever. And that is for this. I saw this on Country Sampler's website, and I think that is just totally creative. It's a perfect size, 46 by 64 for a wall hanging. I don't know if I'll finish it this year, but I'd like to at least get started on some of the blocks. Love it, love it, love it. And I got one other quilt kit. Another bundle of lusciousness. And this one you could use year-round because this isn't necessarily Christmas. It's all in the presentation. That's what we used to say when we worked at the old green cupboard. It's all in the presentation. And that is for this pattern with all these baskets. And I especially like these baskets because, for those of you who are quilters, the basket handles are pieced, so you don't have to applique the basket handles. And I like the way, you know, like you could set this over the back of a couch and, you know, fold it along here. And then however you look at it, the baskets are right side up. Love it. Okay, a few other things that I got. Y'all should go to Kitten Stitcher's website because her son Graham is now doing some of the dyeing of her fabric. And her Graham Cracker Fabrics. And I got a couple pieces. Both are 40 count, I think. Yep. This one is called Tea Set. Okay, Teresa, make fun of us. Go ahead. Oh, and this one is called just graham cracker. Does look like graham crackers. So I got those. I've gotten a few, and I don't know when these came, but these are part of the Dying to Stitch Club, which is all Christmas. The Pineberry Lane one is all Christmas. This one's Noel. I've seen some people stitching this. And these might have come during the year, but I just thought since it's close to Christmas, you might want to see all of them. Merry and Bright. Merry and Bright. It's not Marion. I had an Aunt Marion. And this one is Christmas Time Sewing Roll. It's also very cute. I got this from Country Sampler. Their version, they had, you know, like, just grayed it down a little bit with the colors. But I like the red too, so. And I have some red ticking, like here. Isn't that cute? It's pretty big, but I love it with the greenery in it. Beautiful. Hang it on a doorknob. I ordered this kit, Peace and Goodwill Sampler by Chessie and Me. Love the red house. I might want to start this soon, so I really like that. Set that off to the side. Got this one, another Mary. Be Merry pin pillow. Cute. Kitted. This one was kitted also. Got this one from Country Sampler. This is the one that fits in the sleigh. Cute. You see that? You can go on Country Sampler's website or get their emails or even their Facebook group. They have a lot of pictures of stuff in the store. I got a lot of the same pieces that people got from Brenda Gervais when she opened her little shop at the Midwest. I got this one. See, nose itching. This one, I think I'd like to do that pretty soon. That's cute. And I love doing those trees. They are so fun. And this one, which he kind of matches the Boo to You girl with the skinny arms, tiny eyes. Got this one. This is for the ABC Schoolgirls Club. I thought that was such a unique finish where you do that roll. That one came kitted. I love the silk ribbon it came with too. Beautiful. I got this one. La-di-da. Love that. And on 40 count, this one is 6 1/4 by 5 1/2. But if you do it on a smaller count, maybe like 30 count, it's kind of big. It doesn't look big in the picture, but. Let's see, I did finish his current stitching stash. Teresa does a What Am I All Into? And I'm kind of all into random acts of kindness. I think some people call them racks. I recently decided to give away I had 2 of the Ufendel sisters' original booklet, and I decided to give it to a friend who I knew didn't have it and who would appreciate it. And so it was just it's kind of a joyful feeling, and I think that's really the spirit of Christmas, is giving out of your abundance and to people that will appreciate. You know, this person has plenty of stash, I'm sure, but I knew they would appreciate it. So, and then because of that, my next giveaway I'm going to do, I got 2 of these. So hopefully I'll be back before Christmas to give this away. That's my plan. So, let's see. I thought of a weird question. My husband and I talk about this all the time. Okay. When you put your shoes and socks on, are you sock, shoe, shoe? Or are you sock, shoe, sock, shoe? What that means is when you put your shoes and socks on, do you put both socks on and then both shoes? Or do you put a sock and a shoe on one foot and then a sock and a shoe on the other foot? My husband is a sock, shoe, shoe. And he's an occupational therapist, a trained professional, so he speaks. And he thinks I'm crazy, but I like to finish a task. And so to me, sock, shoe is the way to go, because then you have one foot that's completely done and you go to the other foot. So if you're interested in this pattern, tell me whether you're sock, shoe, shoe, or sock, shoe, shoe. It'll be interesting to read. And then, speaking of random acts of kindness, someone sent me this, a friend, and these. Are they upside down? Yes. I was overjoyed to get these in the mail. It's just, way kind. This is a needle roll accessory thing by French General. And whether you're a quilter or not, you may have heard of French General because they design beautiful fabric. And actually, they did a lot of stuff before they actually started designing for Moda. It's called a Notions roll-up, and it's so pretty. This would just be pretty sitting in a basket. And then I got these 2 thread keeps. One says Merry Christmas, and the other says Schoolgirl thread keep. So, I have a couple more things, and then I'm going to let you go, because this one isn't going to be real long. So, while I was, I'll try to get through this, straight face. While I was at the Midwest Cross Stitch Retreat, which started on a Thursday, I got a call from my daughter. And she said, Mom, I'm really having a lot of pain. I feel like I'm having contractions, like when I was about to deliver. And she said, it woke me up in the night, and I'm just really having a lot of pain. So, what do you say? I was umpteen million miles away, and, I said, just watch it and just, see if anything else develops, and maybe take some ibuprofen or something. So she called me later in the afternoon, and she said, Mom, I'm throwing up, in addition to having this pain, and the pain hasn't gone away. And she said, I feel like if I could just go to the bathroom, I would feel better. And yes, I'm going to share. So she said I could. And I said, okay, you're throwing up and you're having this pain. I said, you need to go to the emergency room because this could be appendicitis or something. So she said, she's a teacher. It was just about time school was ending. And so she said, but I have Elijah, who is her 6-year-old. And he goes to the same school where she teaches. And I said, so take him with you. I said, they can handle that in the emergency room. I said, go up to Mayo Clinic, which is within like 3 miles of where she works. And that's where her insurance, thankfully, where her insurance, she can go there. And so she couldn't get a hold of her husband. He had the 4-year-old because the 4-year-old had been sick that day. So he had stayed home from work with the 4-year-old. My husband was teaching because he teaches on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And so, you know, I was really the only one she could get a hold of. And here I'm in Iowa and she's in Jacksonville. So I said, go to the emergency room. And then I texted my husband. I told my sister, who was there with me. And I said, you know, she's really sick and maybe this is appendicitis. And so I was kind of telling everybody around, my daughter's really sick and she's going to the emergency room and I wish I was there, but I really want to be here. And it was just kind of a conflict in my brain. And so anyway, I texted my husband and I said, as soon as you're done with class, go to the emergency room immediately because Lindsay's up there with Elijah and she's really sick. So that was Thursday. She was in the hospital till Saturday. They wanted to do a colonoscopy. They couldn't because she had a blockage, which is called a stricture. And I'm sorry if this gets too detailed. You can certainly tune me out. I mean, that's perfectly understandable. But on Saturday, my husband called me, and he had been up to the hospital, and he was there when he had been watching the kids while her husband was at the hospital with her. And then on Saturday, he said, I'm going up, and I'm going to take the kids so they can see her and all that. And because they're 4 and 6, they don't understand. I mean, they do, but they don't. So he was in there when the doctors came in, and they said, the only time we've seen this kind of stricture is in Crohn's disease or cancer. That's a blow. Whew. So anyway, I have a brother that died when he was, I told myself I'm going to be able to get through this, but anyway, I have a brother that had Crohn's disease, and autoimmune is like rampant in our family because I have celiac, I have thyroid disease, my sister has lupus, my mom had diabetes, my brother had Crohn's. I mean, it's like, and there's no cancer in our family. Now, my husband had prostate cancer a few years back and had surgery, and he's fine. But literally, neither my mom nor my dad, neither of my grandparents, not sure about grandparents on my husband's side, but, you know, it's like there's just no cancer. Well, be careful what you say, because after they did a biopsy, they determined she has colon cancer. Get out your tissues, people. Whew. Anyway, so I was still away. And on Monday, my husband, being he's been in the medical field, and her husband stayed home with the kids, and Mike went with her to her primary, and she had an appointment at Monday at 5 o'clock, and they said it's cancer. And she FaceTimed me to tell me, and there's nothing in your brain. This is why I decided to do this at the end, so I wouldn't boo-hoo during the whole thing. But anyway, there's nothing that can prepare you to hear those words about your 33-year-old daughter. Okay, let's have a cup of coffee. And I was still I was in Kansas City visiting my brother. I was planning on staying with my stepdaughter that night, Monday night, and then I was flying home on Tuesday. My sister had already gone back to Wichita. And so I had spent some time with my stepdaughter and her kids and all of them, and I just decided I needed to be a little bit more solitary environment, and so I went back to my brother's house. And they're also facing cancer because my sister-in-law has been diagnosed with brain cancer. So in the last few weeks, we've talked to him a lot about all of his, hurt my sister-in-law situation. And then to happen to my daughter was just like, whew, talk about out of left field. It was out of left field. So I got back on Tuesday, and she was actually feeling fairly good. She was on a full liquid diet. She was watching what she ate. She actually went back to work. Not that first week after she got out of the hospital. She had a lot of appointments and, a lot of tests they wanted to do. And the main thing they were watching or waiting for, they took DNA testing. And cancer treatment nowadays is so sophisticated. And so they took the DNA testing to see if she had any syndromes, which would cause her to have more future cancers. And that would determine, when they did the surgery, whether they would take part of her colon or all of her colon. So those tests take 2.5 weeks minimum, especially if they're outsourced. And so we were waiting on that. She had seen the surgeon. We all went. It was like a party in the surgeon's office. Her dad, me, her husband, her. And she's had a pretty good attitude. It's been amazing. We are both women of faith, and I have seen God's hand through this whole thing. So anyway, she was feeling good for about a week and a half, and then this is my daughter. She wanted the kids to go to Disney one more time before she had surgery. Why, I don't know. Like, why are you doing this to yourself? But, I'm just her mother. So they got to Disney, and she texted me at 1 a.m. Fortunately, I was still awake because I was stitching, and she said, I'm in bad shape. She said, I'm really sick again. And when she gets sick, she can't pass anything, so she starts, everything's coming up this way, and she gets really weak. And so at 1 a.m, my husband said, I'll go get her, And her husband was there, and she was like, no, you need to go to Disney with the kids. It's like, no, you don't. And her husband was like, I don't know what to do. She's telling me to go to Disney. And I'm like, you need to get her back to Mayo Clinic tonight. So my husband had already started. It's about a 2.5-hour drive. And so he had already started, and my son-in-law had started. Because for him to go all the way to Orlando and then back would have been a 5-hour trip, where if they could meet in the middle, then her husband could take the kids on home and my husband could take her to Mayo. So I'm at home trying to make sure that they can meet up somewhere on the interstate in the middle of the night at like 3:30 in the morning. It was crazy. It was crazy. I'm talking to him. We couldn't get a hold of her because her phone was not working right. It was just crazy. So anyway, they finally met up. My husband says he drove 100 miles an hour. I don't know if he's telling me the truth, but maybe. And she was so sick. And so finally got her to the emergency room about 5:30 in the morning. And she said once she walked into Mayo, she was able to release some of her anxiety, because she said, I know I'm going to be taken care of. So that time she was in the hospital for 6 days, during which time I was supposed to go to the attic for the retreat with Barb and Alma. I was really looking forward to it. There was a part of me that thought, well, there's not a whole lot I can do here. She's in the hospital, but I'm glad I did and made the choice not to go, because once she was out of the hospital, we really didn't want to leave her on her own. And it was kind of a horrendous stay. Anyway, I've gone on and on and on and babbled and babbled and babbled, and a lot of this is kind of irrelevant to most of you, but you can just know what I've been going through. I did find that stitching was cathartic and helpful, and that all bundled up, the big snowman, I was working on something else, and I thought, I just need to be able to just stitch and not have to count or think, not have to change colors. And so I said, I need a big fat piece of solid stitching, and that's when I started that one. And that's what I did. I just kept stitching. There were times in her hospital room it was too dark to stitch, and I was trying to see, but I just tried to keep stitching. So she got out of the hospital. Her surgery is scheduled for this coming Friday, day after Thanksgiving. So no Black Friday shopping for her. So they are going to remove a part of her colon because she does not have any syndromes, and so that was good news. And it's at the top of her sigmoid, if you're an anatomy person. So there is life after you have colon surgery, because my sister at one point had her entire colon removed. So they're going to be in a special club. Not for cancer. My sister didn't have cancer, but she'll be in the hospital 3 to 5 days, and then a few weeks probably on liquid diet. Right now she's on she eats broth and some protein drinks at the most, and she's lost like 25 pounds already just being on liquid. She basically hasn't had any nourishment for about 6 weeks. So she wanted to lose weight. She's like her mother, although not as chubby as her mom, but she wanted to lose weight that she's been carrying since she had kids, but not necessarily this way. But I think I've said but about 25 times, but anyway, we're just praying for a good recovery. I have been amazed at the love and kindness that has been shown. Unbelievable. My son and his wife decided to put up a GoFundMe. Obviously, she's going to be off work. They're a young couple. They live paycheck to paycheck. They have 2 small kids. They have a mortgage. They have car payments, all that kind of stuff. They both work. And so, you go on disability, you don't get a full paycheck. There's going to be a lot of things that maybe her insurance won't cover. And so that was the reason for the GoFundMe. And people have just been, stitchers that don't even know my daughter, have been unbelievably generous, to the point where I'm ashamed that I have not been more generous to people. So that's what I'm all into, random acts of kindness, because they have certainly been shown to our family. And one of the things when you have cancer, Mayo gives you the option if you want to see a psychologist. And so she said, okay, so she went to see the psychologist. And the woman told her, she said, you need to make sure that you're staying in contact with friends and, staying close to the people that you care about, because when you do, it releases dopamine into your system, and that's one of the things that will help your recovery. So that's what I'm all into too. Dopamine. So when I say I'm hooked on dope, that's it, because the love and the kindness in the stitching community fills you with dope. So I just want to thank everybody, because, and there's been other tragedies in the stitching community. And I could name a couple that come to mind, but one of my favorite floss tubers lost a grandchild, and another of my favorite floss tubes lost her husband. And you know, it's kind of, I know Bendy Stitchy recently said her husband had cancer, so it's just amazing, the love and kindness. I mean, just Jean from the attic has reached out and just sent me some of the most lovely emails. And she's also touted the wonderful community of stitchers that had reached out to her and how that has been such a support for her. So God is in this. Stitchers are in this. Our family is positive. Her surgery's Friday, so we're just praying for a really good outcome. It's about a 5-hour surgery, so I'll be stitching. So all that to say, the one other project, now it's at the bottom of my stack, so hold on here. My daughter's name is Lindsay Sanders. She's a beautiful young mom, and we want her around for a long, long time. So, but her given name was Lindsay Whitchurch, and I had had this sampler for a while, the LW motif sampler, as in Lindsay Whitchurch. I never know on samplers anyway. Do you put somebody's, you know, if you do a birth sampler, do you put their given name or married name or whatever? But anyway, I saw this. It's not huge. I think it's going to be like 10 by 5 or 9 by 5. And I thought, I'm going to stitch this during her treatment and surgery and all this. So I've barely started it. I was waiting for some threads. Kimberly Nugent is the designer for Samplers Not Forgotten. And I sent her an email, told her our situation, and I said, I really want to stitch this with silks because it calls for cottons. And she kindly gave me a list of silks that could be used. And so I'm stitching it in silks, but you could very easily stitch it on cottons. It calls for pecan butter, which I have. It has everything from reds, pinks, olive greens, tealy greens. It's going to be very, very pretty. It's kind of hard to show when some of these are in bags. Let me see if I can do this. It's got olive greens, evergreens, just all different kinds of greens, pinks, reds, blues. It's going to be really pretty. So I did start on it. Like I said, I had to wait for the main color for the border, but I finally got that and I have started it. So this is 36 count pecan butter, and I barely have a start because, like I said, I just got the main color. But that's how big it's going to be. I think that's like 9, maybe 10 inches. And then it doesn't go too far. It's like 5.5, 6 inches on 40 count. So it might be a little bigger. So that's in honor of my daughter, Lindsay Whitchurch Sanders. So anyway, I'm sorry that I boo-hooed. I knew I would, but I tried to control it. I am usually a laugher, not a crier. My family has had more times laughing at funerals than crying because that's just how we handle things. But I did have one other thing, not about my daughter, but about my quilt that I made. It's all quilted. Like I said, I have just a little bit of the binding left to do. I'll get that finished up. I always wash quilts. And I did a real tight meander, which if you follow Country Sampler at all, that's how they do a lot of their quilting. It's very simple quilting, and it just shrivels up wonderful in the dryer when you wash it. And the first time I generally just rinse it and then I put it in the dryer. It's fully washable and dryable, just like anything cotton. I do like to use cold water because it's reds. But anyway, I drew a name. So if you're out there, Holly Hintzman, you are the winner of the quilt. So thanks to 5,000 plus subscribers, and I will probably do another quilt giveaway in January. I have 200 plus quilts, and so if you don't mind getting one that's made maybe a year or 2, 3 years ago and is still in good shape, then I decided I'm gonna more random acts of kindness, because I think that's important. So anyway, that's all I have for today, and I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and just be thankful for your family, your friends, and just what a wonderful life this is. And no pun on the movie, although I do try to watch it right after Thanksgiving. But God is good, and love you.